Okay, I'm here with Danni McCormack, who's fighting Stephanie Page at Bellator 275. Danny, how you doing?
Good, not too bad. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How's everything across the sea and island right now? Because obviously we've got this storm that we're all having to deal with.
Yeah, it's like it looks fine one minute and the next thing it's like crazy snow showers. So it's a bit wild here as well.
Yeah, I just hear the wind in the background. It's a bit distracting, but we're going to move on. You've obviously been driving back from Dublin today. How was that?
Yeah, good. I had my last session, like my last contact session before the fight. So yeah, it was great. Really enjoyed it. And I like trying to train as close to the fight as I possibly can without getting injured. So it's kind of a, risky business on the last day, but nothing bad happens. So that's good.
Yeah, you hear so many stories of fighters who just make it to the last day and then they get injured. So yeah, um, we touched on it at the start. Danny McCormack now, congratulations. Um, how busy of a time has it been for you since we last saw you in November?
Yeah, it was mad to be honest because after the fight, I had surgery pretty much the next week. That I had planned an elective surgery for after the fight on my sinuses, and then after that surgery, I went straight into a weight cut from my wedding. So back training like a mad woman and eating nothing just so I could get into the dress that I got fitted when I was really light in camp. So I made myself get the dress as tight as I could when I was super skinny so that I'd have to lose the weight for the fight for the wedding. So yeah, it's been like another camp between two tight camps anyway. And then as soon as I came home from the wedding, straight into proper camp.
You got married in New York, right? How was that?
Yeah, yeah, we got married on the 22nd of December. It was class. Yeah, we had a great time. Like I don't think we knew how good it was going to be. It was just perfect. It's exactly what we wanted. No, not many people, and just do what we want to do, kind of thing.
Yeah. Um, let's talk about the fight. Obviously, February 25th, we're a week out. How is this next 7 days going to look for you?
Yeah, so basically most of the work is done now. I like keeping the high intensity training up for another couple of days. So like hitting pads really fast, really hard, get the heart rate pumping until like Monday. And then on Tuesday morning we head off up to the Gibson to Dublin and we book into the Fire Hotel. So my weight is really good at the moment, so I don't have to worry too much over the weekend doing any like crazy cardio sessions or anything other than just the pads. So yeah, once I'm in the Fire Hotel, then it's just a matter of doing like media photos and then weighing in on Thursday morning.
So Stephanie Page is the opponent. What are your thoughts on her? How much have you seen coming into this one?
Yeah, so we looked up all her fights. We always do. We always check all the tape and see what she's like. So she's pretty much the same in all her fights. She's a striker. She likes to strike. She doesn't really go to the ground unless someone else puts her on the floor. She's good kicker. She's a good striker. She doesn't really like going on the back foot, and when she gets taken down, she's not very good at getting back up. So I think I've got quite a lot of ways to beat her, and I think she's probably only got one way of beating me, and that's outstriking me. So I think it's pretty obvious what the game plan is
Yeah.
already. Everyone that even has a quick look at it, it's a grappler versus striker matchup, and I'd like to stand with her for a while and kickbox, and I've been really working on that, and I feel like I'm turning into a good striker. So we'll see. But look, I always end up on the floor and they always end up underneath me. So that's probably what's going to happen.
um, you're obviously no stranger to fighting in Dublin at the Three Arena at this point. How important is that for you? But not just that, but sharing the card with so many teammates. Obviously, we've got Queely, Sinead, Brian Moore, a lot of others too. What does that mean to you?
So I only like to start taking that in like in the last fight or two. I've started to really take that in and realize this is something that I would have dreamt of before I'd ever had an MMA fight, or I've been up in the stands, or up in watching my teammates fight in the Three Arena before. But when the first few fights when I did do it, I suppose I let the nerves take control, and I found it quite high pressure situation fighting in front of 11,000 people, and at least 9,000 of them know who you are. So everyone and their relatives are bloody there. Like it is quite stressful, but in the last 6 to 12 months, I've really come into my own, and I'm very confident now after having 5 wins. So I realized that this is like super opportunity for me, and it's going to be something I look back on in years to come and say, I was on those big cards up in Dublin in the Three Arena in front of a sold out crowd. It's just hard sometimes when you're in the moment to appreciate the moment because of pressure and nerves and stuff.
Is there a part of you that wants to travel a bit more though? Obviously, you had the fight in Milan. There was a fight in Germany as well recently. Would you like to do maybe a London card, or maybe even the US at some point soon?
Going away is the easiest thing in the world to do. It's much easier than fighting at home. There's no stress. You don't have to sell any tickets. Yeah. Don't get any messages. What time are you on at? There's none of that. So I love fighting away. It's great. And look, I need to go to the US if I want to become the best. Like that's where the best fights are, no matter what promotion you're in. So yeah, I am looking forward to that next stage of the journey. I presume my nights in the Three Arena won't continue on much longer after the next few fights. I think I'm going to be moving on to bigger and better things across the water. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Obviously, we touched on Dublin and some of your teammates a little while ago. Talk to me about that environment at SBG at the minute, because obviously, Connor's out with his injury. But looking from the outside, there doesn't seem to be as much talk about the gym as there has been in the past. So how are things there?
Yeah, so I guess when SBG first took off with Connor, there was a lot of eyes on the gym. And then a few years later, quite a lot of the fighters that were in the UFC at the time were gone. So like Cathal Pendred, Paddy Houlihan, Aisling Daly, they all moved on. So there's my generation, I call them my generation of fighters that we all started around the same time. And there's a few lads that started a couple of years ahead of me. We're only on the cusp of that now. So the old guard has moved on, and it's taken 5-6 years to develop the rest of us up to that level, because most of the other people in the gym at the time were still only amateurs. There wasn't a huge amount of pros. But now looking at the team in 2021, God, there's so many pros now. Like half of the team is pro. Most still are under 7-8 fights. But imagine in the next few years when we're all in the double digits, that there's going to be more people in the UFC. There's going to be more people in different promotions. So I don't think SBG's got worse. If anything, it's gotten much better. It's just that there was a small group of pros all got into the UFC together. Then they moved on. But now we've got 90 fighters in SBG. And so many of them are professionals. And if you look around the mat at those 90 fighters, you could definitely pick out 10 that are going to be really, really good. And then another 20 that will have a very, respectable career.
Is it weird for you? Because obviously you're 5-0 at the minute. So you must get people coming into the gym who have been influenced by yourself. Is that strange to you?
I'm probably sheltered by it a lot, because I hit and run a lot of the time. I just hand into the session, train, shower as fast as possible, and get back on the motorway back down to Mullingar. So from in terms of people in the gym members, I don't usually come in contact with them because we're in our little bubble during the protein session. But I definitely get a lot of messages of people on social media, a lot of women and women who have kids that train as well, or girls that train, and I get a lot of motivation from that people are inspired by what I'm doing, and they've joined gyms, or they've sent their daughter to our gym even. So yeah, I get it quite a lot on social media. But you'd be doing well if you caught me in SBG now for a 5-minute chat, because I'm usually on the run up there.
Yeah, it's a big time for women's combat sports in Ireland. Obviously, Katie Taylor's got that massive fight coming up, but then we've got like people like yourself, Leah McCourt, Sinead Kavanagh, who are all doing really well on the come up. So it's a big time. You are a
Yeah.
strawweight, obviously. Bellator doesn't really have that division. There's no champion, no rankings. So you've talked about flyweight in the past. Is making that move soon still on your mind?
I talked about it just to fight Valerie Loreda because it'd be a great fight, and I think I can beat her. I don't think she's that good. But I'm not a flyweight. Like, I'm 122 pounds here as we speak.
Yeah.
So, and I've got like 6 pounds to cut in the next few days. But I was 125 like the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm really not. The flyweights would be 135 today talking to you. That's the start of my camp when I'm really fat. So it's I'm not a flyweight, and I'm not like cocky enough to think that I'd hang with the best flyweight in the world. But could I beat Valerie Loreda? Yes, absolutely. Valerie Loreda. So I'm happy to move up just to beat her. But can I hang with the rest of them? Probably not, unless I started lifting weights for like a full year and ate up.
Is that frustrating for you though? Because obviously there isn't really that division around you. So it's like you're kind of just stuck in a way. Do you see that?
Yeah, well, I really understand it. So I understand that Bellator took on featherweight and flyweight as their first two women divisions because they were opposing the UFC. So the UFC, or I don't know if opposing even the right word, but the UFC had the strawweights and the bantamweights at the time. They didn't have the featherweights or the flyweights. So Bellator had these two divisions and the UFC had the other two. So they didn't compete against each other. So I totally get that. And then the UFC developed on to bring on more women and more divisions, but Bellator hasn't done that yet. And I'm not a US fighter. If I was 5-0 and probably next week going to be 6-0, and I lived in the States, yeah, I think they would put a belt up for me or start creating a division, because it'd be silly to let me go as an undefeated fighter. And a good prospect. But the fact that I'm a European fighter and they make their money on Showtime, I don't think it's a good business move for them. Maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot saying this. Realist, I don't think there's any point like beating around the bush about it. It's not for a good business decision for them at the moment. So yeah, that's kind of the reality of it.
Yeah. Obviously, in addition to your fight, we've got a big main event next Friday. Gegard Mousasi, Austin Vanderford. How do you see that one playing out?
Mousasi is like, a legend. It's going to be really hard beat Mousasi. There's not a lot he hasn't seen. But Vanderford is hungry. He's got some serious solid wrestling. You can't seem to kill him. He's well able to take shots and keep going on his game plan. So, Austin Vanderford shows up the very best he possibly can, and Mousasi has a bad day, then I think it's Vanderford's. But Mousasi is the one with the experience and probably with the greater skill set. So I'm not sure. I'd like to see it for Austin Vanderford. I think he's a nice guy, and it would be cool to see the kind of the old guard passing on to the newer generation. And it's going to be cool seeing Paige Van Zandt knocking around the hotel as well. Although I'm sure Artem Lobov will be getting me to call her out next, so I'll have to be careful.
Are you close with Artem? Are you two good friends?
Artem has been around the gym from when the first day I moved in, and Artem's extremely loyal person. So if he knows you, he knows you. So if he's seen you in pennies, he would make his way over to talk to you. He's just the salt of the earth kind of person. And a lot of us newer generation fighters, he's seen us come from being 0-0 amateurs and getting smashed, and always had time to give us a bit of encouragement back then. So now a lot of us are pros. He's still, always got our backs and always encouraging us and giving us advice on calling out people basically and making more money.
Yeah, I love that. Finally, just on your fight again, you kind of went over it earlier, but if you have to visualize the fight in your head, what do you see taking place?
So I would love that we start striking in the first few minutes and I knock out and everyone goes, oh my God, you knocked out a striker. Then I run around like a crazy woman. That's what I would like to happen.
Yeah.
But more recently, I think I get my striking off for a while and then she overcommits and I take her down. She may or may not get up in the first round. If she does, then she'll have the same sort of story in the second round, but she'll be a little bit more fatigued. So more likely that I'll finish her in the second round, but ground and pound, or if she shows her back, she's getting choked. So I think that's what would happen, but I would love to knock her out and then have that feather in my cap that I bet a striker. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. There you go. Yeah. I was just going to say it's a good way to end it. Thanks for taking the time so close to fight week, Danni. It's been great to talk to you. Bellator 275 next week. BBC 3 here in the UK. Virgin in Ireland, right?
Yeah, and I'll be on YouTube. The prelims are on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Thanks
awesome.
much for having.
Yeah, no excuse not to watch it if it's on YouTube.
Absolutely, it costs nothing.
Yeah. All right. Best of luck next Friday, Danni. Thanks for taking the time.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks.